Welcome to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 31st of March. I'm going to share some standout details to look out for to begin with, then on screen the event chart right at the start of the week. That's always influential and provides a backdrop for the whole 7 days. Then as influences come in, I'll go through each of them frame by frame to give you a truly clear picture of what we can all collectively expect. Then I'll go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces to give you a flavour from the perspective of your ascendant, sun or the moon. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A warm welcome. Thank you so much for all your views and interactions. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please help it thrive and click that sub button, but also the bell notification symbol. If you'd like to have a one-to-one with me, please check out my testimonials. I am a consultant astrologer. See those below. Or you can take advantage of my new astrology video service readings, which are proving truly popular. See below for more about those too. My long-standing offer, if your interest in astrology is emerging, is to order your life roadmap report. Totally unique to you. Will help you to understand the patterns and themes that are played out in your life so far, but with my forecast in my special offer of 30% off, you can also make the most of that energy in terms of your timings over the following year. Please see below for more. Finally, my new website is coming together. We have had a few travails along the way, but please check it out at www.patrickarundell.com. So right at the start of this week, we're feeding off the energy of the furnace, which was the Aries solar eclipse. It was also a supermoon, so that's very vivid as we go into this week. And Aries energy is very much about enterprise and being on the front foot. What's not to like? And indeed, the ruler of the sign of Aries, Mars, is actually forging some very constructive links this week to Uranus, the planet of surprises, but also to Saturn, the planet of structure. So that's pretty good, but that's very much about staying in touch with our instincts, our emotions. And the fire of that solar eclipse is about action. How will that play out? So on the screen now, you can see the event chart right at the start of the week. Now the key is, of course, that Neptune has arrived in Aries for the first time in 164 years. It's going to be there. He's going to be there through to the 10th of December, so just under 8 months, and won't get beyond 2 degrees. So initially, although it is arcing towards Pluto up there in house 11, they're not totally connected, but I feel they are relevant, because if we think that the sextile between them, which has been long-standing recently, has been with Pluto in Capricorn, an earth sign, and Neptune in Pisces, a water sign. Now earth does carry water, but then oxygen, Pluto in the air sign of Aquarius, does feed the fire of Neptune in Aries. So when it comes to our idealism, I think we're going to see that vented and articulated in a much more passionate way over the coming months. But you can see that Mercury has now inversed back into Pisces along with Venus. Now Venus loves being in Pisces. She's exalted there. Mercury doesn't like being in Pisces. But as this week goes on, although they're close together, which does have some benefits, they're inching back towards Saturn. And in fact, Venus and Saturn are in touch for much of April. And that's going to ask some very telling questions around all sorts of relationships, commercial, personal, friendship, family, romantic, but also in terms of marshalling our finances, which Venus does influence. And the sign of Pisces is the sign of culmination. So we could get some outcomes this month that have been germinated over a very long period of time, particularly with Saturn's influence, which can be very scrutinizing, very cold. And I feel, therefore, that despite that Aries energy with the solar eclipse, with Neptune, with the Sun, with Chiron initially, all in that sign as we start this week, it is going to be a case of 2 steps back. We're not necessarily going to see things going forwards at quite the speed that perhaps might have been the case if there wasn't that pack of players in the sign of Pisces. Now, in terms of as this week goes on, one of the uplifts of this week is the Sun and Jupiter are in good form with one another, and that reaches a peak as the week draws to a close. Now, of course, Jupiter is the planet of fortune, the Sun in Aries, the planet of going for it and being very, very direct and bold. So if there is something that we feel very sure about and we've done our research, because I feel the 12th house or the 12th zodiac sign of Pisces suggests if we haven't, something could be revealed or a snag could come up, particularly with Mercury still in retrograde through to the start of next week. And therefore, just be conscious of that. But if you're really sure of what you want to do, some kind of serendipity or fortune could present itself towards the end of this week. But that said, on Saturday, we do have a quarter moon in the feline sign of Cancer. And we must be mindful that although Mars in Cancer forges a great link with Saturn and Uranus at the start of this week, it actually forges a very corrosive one with Chiron. And if you do encounter someone this week who tends to be rather brusque, abrupt, dismissive, particularly how you feel about something on a more individual level, try to step back and understand what the psychological reasoning is behind their output, because the chances are they're covering something up or projecting in some kind of way. But it is true that although Venus and Mercury are in retrograde and the cool, restrictive energies of Saturn are in the mix, perhaps something that we did try has required some amendments, could require some fine-tuning. And if we can be philosophical about that, rather than getting overly frustrated that things aren't quite rattling along at the pace that we'd expect with an Aries solar eclipse, well, that's going to help us to chill out. So just be aware that there may be some hidden information. Maybe someone around us isn't quite as sincere as they have made out they are. So watch out for the games, the politics. And with that quarter moon, which occurs on Saturday, it's just reminding us that emotion is important. We can be very direct with Aries energy, but we still need to be protective of our interests. So being very dynamic, which of course Jupiter and the Sun can ask us to do, is, very admirable, but we need to have a sense of what the downside might be. And just one other line from the start of the week, you can see that the position of the moon in Taurus, where she loves to be, she's exalted, does clash with Pluto. So there could be some powerful energy working its way around, but particularly around our future hopes. Please stay with me as I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs from Aries through to Pisces. So Aries, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast suggests as you burst into this week with that huge welter of energy from the solar eclipse in your sign and the arrival of Neptune, when it comes to inspiration and passion, you have it all together, right? And you know that when you're really motivated by something, you can be hugely dynamic. So what's not to like? Well, it's just the collective in the sign of Pisces, but most of all by the end of the week, the retreating Venus and Mercury, but particularly Venus, closing in on Saturn, suggests there may be something that you just need to be attentive to. And it may be a doubt, it may be a little bit of resistance, a slight unsureness about what to do. Now, this could be as simple as an invitation to go out and have fun, to meet up with someone, to have a date, to apply for a job, to start your own enterprise. But if there is that little bit of resistance, I do think it's important to acknowledge it, because by the end of this week, I feel that that can be amplified. So as much as there is that huge opportunity there, and if you are feeling really sure, the link between the sun in your sign and Jupiter certainly gives you a huge amount of encouragement to express what you're really invested in. But I feel you will have needed to do your market research, or feel utterly sure that it does feel right. Because if you are unsure, by the time you get to Saturday's quarter moon in the feeling sign of Cancer, where your ruler Mars resides at the present time, you may find yourself running out of steam almost straight away, and actually that can really deflate you. So I feel that this is a week where your posture has to be just right for your circumstances. And if you're really aware of your emotional and spiritual environment, that's going to be such an asset to you. So if you are someone who tends to sweep away any doubts, tell everyone that it's all going to be fine, you're just going to dive in and be very decisive, which is a fantastic quality to have, just be aware that there may be people around you that are not really in your corner as much as you would like. But some of those people are not going to express how they feel or the judgments they may have. They'll likely keep them hidden, because the potential for some politics, or if I'm really honest, some gossip or backstabbing is actually very strong. And if you are attracted, for example, to meeting up with someone from your past, with Venus and Mercury in the conjunction in your 12th house, because it could make you very sentimental, particularly with Neptune at such an early degree in your sign, I would just caution you, why did that relationship not work out the time before? You may need to reacquaint yourself with that reality, otherwise you could expose yourself to something that actually really is self-defeating. So it can be a week of opportunity with the Sun linking so brilliantly to Jupiter, but make sure you've got all your bases covered and you're absolutely convinced of what you want to do and what your motivations are, but most of all, that it really feels right. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Taurus, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast suggests, with the solar eclipse last week and the arrival of Neptune in your 12th house, that's an area of delicacy and sensitivity. Now, the next solar eclipse is in your sister Earth sign of Virgo in September, and it will be a blue moon. And that gives you a glorious opportunity to be very dynamic and outgoing. But from now until then, you could go through a big period of careful consideration about what you want from your life. And an area that could come under particular review this week is your friendships, because with Venus, your ruler, inverting, reversing backwards to meet the steely cold energies of Saturn pretty well by the end of this week. If there is a weakness, if someone's not as sincere as you would like, it could be teased into the open by the delicate quarter moon in the sign of Cancer. Now, we know that Cancer is about emotion and feelings and protectiveness, and it's ruled by the moon, so a good place to have the moon, yes? Well, yes, but because of the square to the Sun in your 12th house, that can be to do with potentially gossip. It can be to do with where people are not necessarily being very upfront and maybe a little insincere. So one of the things that I think you're going to be checking out is those associates. If you're collaborating on something, is the other person as dedicated, hardworking and trustworthy as you? If the answer is no, this may be a defining week. You may need to make some big decisions. But then again, your long-term planning might not be around your friendships at all. It might be around a business idea, or it could even be around a romantic relationship. So the sensitivity you're going to feel this week is asking you, in conjunction with Venus's link to Saturn, to really be very, very self-honest. And that may mean taking a firm grip on what your expectations are. And sometimes that can ask us to look at areas of life that we're a bit reluctant to engage with. So for example, our fears, our anxieties, our worries, but also our vulnerabilities. So if there's something in your situation at the moment that you're not quite easy with, you really do need to discuss it. But that said, if you have got someone around you who's very trustworthy, very honest, very sincere, but also very experienced, they could give you some absolutely fabulous advice this week, which could be very helpful to guide your next moves. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. Gemini, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast brings sharply into focus the role of Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, but also of fortune. It's been with you since the end of May last year. But unfortunately, Jupiter in Gemini is not its best once in 12 years location, and it's also been conflicted by the restrictive energies of Saturn for much of that time. Now, that square between Jupiter and Saturn is at an end, and in fact Jupiter by the end of this week forges an awesome link with the Sun, brilliant for catching up with friends, doing something social, or just planning for your future in a very dynamic way. But when it comes to your professional or worldly interactions, it's possible that with your ruler Mercury entering its last week in retrograde, along with Venus inching back towards the cold and scrutinizing Saturn themselves, if you're not particularly happy where you work, or you have a line manager who tends to pick over what you do, micromanage you, that could feel very uncomfortable, and you may find yourself looking for a new role, particularly for someone who's more of a free spirit. You're very creative, you have lots of bubbly ideas, and fitting into some kind of construct or big organization is not really you. This week is really priming you to think about how you can change that. And the solar eclipse, which occurred last week, was really part of the equation, because over the next half year, over the next 6 months, it's asking you to reach into what would really inspire you and step away from just the more mundane and practical achievements that we can all get caught up in life, and some of that can be through our work. So if your work situation isn't very enjoyable, you're really asked to look to how you can change that this week. Now, in your personal situation, if you're someone who's got responsibility for older relatives or younger children, that could be something that closes in a little bit towards the end of this week. But that's why that link between the Sun and Jupiter is so helpful. It just suggests that if you can break out, even for a few hours, and do something completely different and liberating, it will be really good for your soul. Please check out my new website at www www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Cancer, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast saw last week's solar eclipse emphasizing your role in life, where you meet the world. Now, for many of us, that can be through our work. For other people, it can be through local communities. Voluntary work can be within the family. But because Mars in your sign is forging such a dynamic link to Uranus, the planet of freedom, in the part of your chart to do with your future, if you feel thwarted in an existing situation, there's a sense that you may want to be much more entrepreneurial. But because Mercury, the planet of communication, Venus, the relator, and the money planet, continue their retrograde, you may find yourself rethinking something that you had thought was set in stone in February and making some adjustments. Now, that could be around a contractual matter, it could be around travel, it could be about learning some new skills, a course or higher education. But by the end of the week, Venus is inverted right onto Saturn. If there is a point of principle where you fundamentally disagree with someone else, whether it's in your personal life, whether it is professionally, that link between Mars and Uranus can push you to do something very daring, to break free, to assert your right to be an individual and to be independent. So although you are a cardinal sign, which means you have a real appreciation of responsibility and you can be very ambitious, I feel there's a sense with this week's energies that you're wanting to bring more passion into what you do, and just going through the processes is not necessarily going to feed your soul in quite the way you want. There's also a quarter moon in your sign on Saturday, so that again emphasizes where you may have a bit of an inner battle between something that provides physical security and what fits more with what your senses are. And that may be something that you really have to work on, finding what really switches you on at a personal level this week. And if you're not achieving it at the moment, create the spark to pursue the interest or opportunities which does give you a sense of excitement. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Leo, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast has something of a paradox threaded through it. Part of you wants to be daring, break out, do something more spontaneous, really live in the moment. And the link between the Sun and Jupiter by the weekend suggests if you're able to do that, you really can trip the light fantastic. But there may be another part of your situation which is pushing you to quarry down into your past experiences and knowledge, perhaps to do with your work, and repurpose some old skills in a new and fresh way. And if you can do that with the great link between the position of Mars, Uranus and Saturn, it's possible that something could begin afresh, which is much more practical, but actually could still give you that buzz that you're entering into something that's thrilling, fresh and new. Just be aware, however, that the quarter moon towards the end of the week on Saturday is potentially going to evoke some old issues that are of a more sensitive nature. And if someone says something that gets slightly under your skin, it could be a little bit difficult to resist giving it oxygen, particularly as Venus, the relator, comes into quite a cold conjunction with Saturn by the week's end. I think one of the things you do want to perhaps avoid discussing, if you do want to keep it light and bright, is anything to do with deep politics in a close relationship. That said, the combination between Venus and Saturn does give you the chance to make some very realistic plans in terms of your financial long-term situation. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Virgo, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast begins with the moon in the part of your situation to do with a desire for a bit more space and independence, but it's clashing with Pluto in the part of your chart to do with that side of your nature which is very conscious of obligations. You can be extremely conscientious, so you could feel a bit conflicted. But Uranus, like the moon in Taurus, is asking you to take a little bit of a walk on the wild side. In fact, Uranus is forging a fantastic link to Mars at the start of this week. If there is someone that you're getting to know that's a bit edgy, maybe someone who's a bit more of a free thinker, you could find that exhilarating, because those relationships which feel stale could need to be broken. And with your ruler Mercury rewinding in your sector of relationships, but along with Venus connecting with the stern Saturn by the end of this week, if you do feel a bit hemmed in, it's certainly a good opportunity to think about your options. The energy of last week's solar eclipse is about transformation, but that transformation can be just as much about your professional relationships as much as your friendships or a personal involvement. And by the end of the week, the quarter moon in your 11th house, that's very much about the connection you have to people that just helps you to feel really comfortable. It's very much at a soul level, and if you do feel penned in and there are some kind of onerous controls, that's the type of energy that this week is pushing you to confront but also break free from. So it's a critical week for all sorts of relationships for you, Virgo. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Libra, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast have been electrified by last week's solar eclipse in your sector of relationships. This gives you a great blast of energy through the next 6 months, but critically by the end of this week, that energy in the sign of Aries links with Jupiter, the planet of good luck, in the part of your chart to do with variety. So if you do something spontaneous towards the end of this week and break free from the everyday chores and obligations and routines you normally fulfill, the chance of something very positive happening is really increased. But there's another dynamic, because your ruler Venus in its retrograde meets back to Saturn by the end of the week. And you could find the rebel in you being aroused if you feel a situation where you've been very hardworking, very diligent, very conscientious, and you still don't feel very recognized. That's something that could reach a break point where you just have to do what's right for you. And it may surprise the other person if you want some more space or you want to hang out with someone else, but getting away from the more onerous life chores, which usually you may accept and take in your stride, but by the end of this week you really do need some space, some liberation and some fun. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. Scorpio, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast begins with the moon in a very affable part of your chart, your opposite sign of Taurus. The moon in the 7th house for you is about equilibrium and harmony. It's just on that day, on Monday, someone very close to you, maybe a housemate, maybe a family member, could, through the energy of your tiny ruler Pluto, just make a demand upon you. Perhaps their expectation of what you should do for them is greater than it should be. And there's another part of your nature that's being activated at the moment that really is asking you to enjoy and relish the free-spirited side of life. So as much as you may want to please them and do what they would like you to assist with, another part of you could push back. Now, in a wider context, last week's solar eclipse is asking you to reform some of the basics in your situation over the next 6 months. Could be around diet, could be around exercise, maybe around your work. But also the 6th house where this occurred is all about details. And because Jupiter, the planet of luck, is in the part of your chart to do with long-term finance, if you revisit any assets you've got, there could be an opportunity here to tease out just a little bit more from whatever you do possess. But in terms of your social situation, you could find yourself feeling a little bit more serious by the end of the week. It doesn't have to be terminal, but if there has been someone you've been seeing recently where you're not quite chiming, Venus's retrograde and linked to Saturn could be a little bit difficult to get through, especially as there is that part of you at the moment that's really wanting some stimulation and a sense of excitement. So if something has become a little bit too mundane, that's what you're going to be pushing back against this week too. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. Sagittarius, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast suggests if there are some things that you'd like to attend to in your home, some do-it-yourself tasks, some improvements, decoratively, structurally, perhaps it's to do with some new home furnishings, perhaps you want to think carefully about where you actually live, as Mercury and Venus inverse in their retrograde back towards Saturn by the end of the week, you will be considering your options very carefully. But if you can let go out and enjoy yourself more socially, the Sun in your sister fire sign of Aries and its link to Jupiter, your ruler, by the end of the week suggests if you encounter someone you feel very comfortable with, you don't have to try too hard to be around them, but you spark off each other almost immediately in terms of your sense of humour or perhaps even your shared interest, it could be a relationship that can become much more meaningful in your situation. But the converse can be true too. If there is someone that you've been seeing and you just don't feel that at ease with them, I feel the energy between the Sun and Jupiter by the week's end is just making you mindful of what really does enrich you. And if someone just doesn't seem to be the right fit for you, maybe has different instincts, maybe is more of a home lover when you're more outgoing, or vice versa, you may need to take that clue and use the energy of Jupiter to connect to the people where the energetic exchange is really uplifting, positive, and exciting too. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. AQUARIUS.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. So Capricorn, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast sees your ruler Saturn right to the fore, but particularly at the end of the week when the retreating Mercury and Venus move back and envelop the energy of Saturn, or should it be the other way round? Saturn is, as you know, a mighty influence. That combination could see you rethinking or rediscussing something of great importance. But once the discussion does take place, I think everyone will know exactly where they stand, because of course at the start of the following week Mercury goes direct, and it could be a saga that's been going on for some while that you finally get the clarity on. But equally, the honest exchange might see the unvarnished truth exchanged, and with the Sun now and the energy of the eclipse in the tender fourth house of your situation, emotions are going to be to the fore, particularly over the next 6 months. Critically, however, if you do want to find some ways to improve your home, free up some more space, sell off some unwanted items, the Sun's great link with Jupiter at the end of the week could see you reap a dividend. But Mars in your opposite sign and the quarter moon as the week draws to a close just suggests that you may need to rein in perhaps a temptation to be a little bit feisty or defensive if someone doesn't quite see a situation exactly like you. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. Aquarius, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast sees a very bright and bubbly and vivacious energy supporting you as you come into the week on the back of the solar eclipse in the fire sign of Aries. Whatever you feel passionate about, you can showcase that over the next 6 months. But in contrast, there are other immediate influences which are perhaps more home-based, not least the moon on Monday. That's in the fourth house of your situation, which is very much to do with how we feel about our immediate environment. Now, the moon is linking to Pluto in your sign. If you do feel a bit frustrated about how things are for where you're living, one of the things you can do this week is get stuck in to make sure your immediate environment is as clean, tidy and functional as possible. And that's because your two rulers, traditional of Saturn and modern of Uranus, are collaborating very well. And also the energy of Mars, which is very much about drive and thrust, is in a very practical zone and linking well with them. So if you want to declutter, make more space, catch up on any chores or do-it-yourself tasks that have been delayed, you can do it with aplomb. There is one caveat though, Aquarius: don't try to do too much, because you could find yourself almost being too conscientious on the back of the quarter moon in Cancer. What's a great antidote to that, however, is the Sun forges a really brilliant link to Jupiter. Jupiter is the most generous planet. It is in the fifth house for you, very much about the potential to be more speculative, but certainly it can be very warm, friendly and interactive. But if you are thinking about something to do with your finances, as Venus, the planet of money, as well as relationships, inverts in its retrograde and meets with your traditional ruler of Saturn as the week draws to a close, it is asking you to balance the optimism of the Sun and Jupiter with a real slice of realism too. But on balance, by the end of this week, if you have been very virtuous and achieved some positive practical things, give yourself permission to let your hair down as the week draws to a close. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more. Pisces, your week commencing the 31st of March forecast suggests you could find yourself right at the start of the week feeling a little unsettled, an old issue, a sensitive subject, just getting a little bit under your skin. But if you can get beyond that, the link between Saturn in your sign, Uranus the innovator, and Mars the planet of action gives you a great platform to move forwards, especially if you're wanting to convert some of your brilliant ideas into something more tangible in terms of your finances. And yet, as the week goes on, the retreating Mercury and Venus in your sign do head back to the cold energy of Saturn. And if there is something that you felt rather inhibited about and not being able to gain the traction that you would like, it may be by the end of the week that you will need to look at this, stare it in the eye, and try to find a solution. But you can, as long as you're realistic, because that's really what Saturn's about. It asks us to be as practical as possible, to be as industrious as possible, but most of all, be realistic. So whatever brilliant ideas you've got, have a great chance to move forwards this week, as long as they're rooted in good research, you've done the foundational work, you've put the effort in, and you could see your finances start to flow as soon as the end of the week, when your traditional ruler Jupiter forges an awesome link to the sun, and that could be something that's truly gratifying indeed. Please check out my new website at www.patrickarundell.com. You can get your free daily horoscope fired to your device each morning, but also sign up for your free daily moon horoscope. That's a personal horoscope forecast, which is really exciting. Please also check out having a reading with me at my personal horoscope store. Please see the link below for more.